Good morning. Welcome to my Monday messages. My internet's not that great today, so I hope it's going to hold out. I hope you all had a lovely weekend. I'm having a very nice time with my sister and my brother-in-law visiting at the moment, and I'm able to play tour guide and reconnect with my lovely environment here in Kerry, which I'm feeling very grateful for. Today I wanted to share with you something that I discovered last week that I was a little bit surprised about initially. And that is that I went to see my craniosacral practitioner, lovely, very skilled practitioner who I've been going to for years. So she knows me and my body really, really well. And she the way we work together is that she will ask me a couple of minor questions about, anything major going on for me. Then she works on my system, and then she will feed back to me what she experienced by doing that. And what came out of last week's session was there were lots of things going on, but the thing that stuck out was that she experienced a definite feeling of tightness and stuckness and holding, like breath holding, around my ribs and my chest and my lungs. And she also used words that indicated that she felt that it didn't feel like it was congruent with what else was going on with me, and that it was something that was very recent, so acute, and not really fully belonging to me. And those weren't her words, but that was basically her meaning, and that's what I took from it. And immediately I knew that this was a reflection of what's going on for us with my mother-in-law. And for those of you who've been following me for a while, you will know that my mother-in-law was taken into palliative care just over a week now, I think it was. And we were told that in no uncertain terms that she had days to live. And in fact, she is defying all of those prognoses, and she is actually doing better now and is stronger, and her medication has been reduced, and they've actually said she doesn't need to be in palliative care for much longer, which is fantastic. And they don't really understand how that's happened. And it reminded me of two things. One, it reminded me that we can never underestimate the human spirit, that nebulous thing that is our spirit, our soul, our energy, our life force, whatever you want to call it. We often underestimate the strength of that and the power of that. And we also underestimate how we are affected, and that is affected by things. So that was one thing, and that's great news. But it also reminded me of how we've been in a kind of limbo state for just over a week, the whole family waiting with bated breath, holding that breath. Is she going to last another day or not? What's going to happen? What do we do? Everything gets cancelled or put on hold. For many members of the family, they've flown over from the UK. But just my immediate family, obviously I am very aware of my husband's processing of this because it's his mother. And I thought that I was not really affected on a kind of cellular level, apart from the fact that I'm there and I have my own relationship with my mother-in-law. And that's something I was quite conscious of. And I was conscious that I needed to be quiet and still and all those things. I didn't feel that there was a physical effect on me, but clearly there has been. And it reminded me how we are always physically affected by what's going on for us emotionally and the other way around. And that when we become aware of those things, which often only come to light when we go and do things like systems of energy medicine. So things like the craniosacral work, going to see a homeopath, doing things like QTT work, which is very much based in what's going on in your body as well. Whether that's Reiki or anything that you choose of that ilk, if you are working with a skilled practitioner, then they are going to be able to determine that you may be denying what's going on for you and how deep things are going, but your body will tell you in some way. And when that becomes apparent, we then have choice. We then can decide, oh, well, that's rubbish, I'm going to ignore that, or just I'm not going to do anything about it. In which case, then that, what is kind of originally an acute dis-ease, actually runs the risk of becoming chronic, because it becomes a lasting, permanent state. And in the case of this particular area, and I touched on this, I think, last week, this is breath holding. And it means that not only are all the muscles and the tendons and the soft tissue around that area locked and tight and holding, and that becomes a default way of being, which can cause all kinds of aches and pains, but also the rest of the body is not getting sufficient oxygen. So all sorts of respiratory-based illnesses and the effects of those can be set off if it's not dealt with or not resolved, not addressed, not paid attention to. So when we become conscious of them, which will only happen through these energetic systems of medicine, there's no pharmaceutical medicine that's going to do that for you, then we can also choose to actually pay attention, to mind ourselves, to choose to actually ramp up that kind of energetic looking after, to perhaps ramp up our, whatever self-care practices we know serve us well, to choose to be quieter, to be more still, or if you're somebody that needs, social life and to be with other people, that you do that. Whatever you need to do to actually pay attention to what's going on for you and to allow it to actually pass through you rather than becoming, setting up residency, basically. So awareness, obviously, like everything, is key. And that, as I said, is only picked up by practitioners and systems of medicine that are working in that paradigm. So with that in mind, I wanted to actually introduce the idea that is, in essence, what then becomes things like contagion and inherited dispositions, hereditary diseases, genetic diseases. Because when something becomes chronic like that, even that breath holding, it becomes a state of being. It is both cellular, and therefore, if we do nothing about it, if I was to then go on and have children, which I'm not, obviously, then it's likely that my children's cellular makeup in that area would be the same, or a version of, that there would be that kind of tendency to holding, to tightening, to not being fully in flow in that area. And that may never come to fruition until something else comes sailing in and causes those vulnerable areas to actually not be able to cope anymore. And that's where susceptibility comes in. That's where what some people would call genetic disease. It doesn't ever have to happen if we're aware of it and we're conscious of it. It doesn't have to come to any kind of pathological outcome. But it does inform choices that we make. And that's where we can feel really powerful and in control, because we can make choices that serve us, rather than doing things that everybody else says we should do and we know are not good for us. So that's the whole kind of, I'm just touching on this, it's a huge subject, I know, hereditary disease. And contagion, I'm talking about the contagious nature of energy or emotion when it is suppressed, when it is not recognized, when it is unwittingly carried about by us. I'm sure you all can think of a situation where somebody has come back into your household in a bad mood, and, up until that point, you've been absolutely fine, but all of a sudden you're in a bad mood too. This energy, this frequency is contagious. And also, so are physical states, because it's just energy, it's just frequency. So if there is a pattern of energy abiding in more than one person, or even one very powerful person, and somebody else does that and somebody else does it, then before you know it, the whole collective is doing it. Emotional states, we know, are contagious, but so are the patterns of energy that reside in us on less conscious levels. And I hope this is making sense. Do pop me a comment in the comment box below whether you think this is something that, yes, I'm very familiar with this, it makes sense to me, or whether this is something that is perhaps new to your way of thinking. Or indeed, even if you think it's a load of old codswallop, just tell me in the comments below, and let's have a discussion about it. I believe that actually opening our perception of things like this is hugely empowering, because most of the real dis-ease comes from us feeling that we have no control. There's nothing I can do apart from chop bits of myself off, because I have no choice. I have this genetic dis-ease in me, and I must get rid of it by chopping those errant bits out of me. Not the answer, and actually really bad science in my view. But that's a whole different kettle of fish. So I'm just touching on that. I think that when we're conscious of how these things get set up, we have the opportunity to change those and to transform the energy that is feeding those states, whether they be physical, emotional, spiritual, or all three. We have the power to transform those, and we can do that anytime we want. And that is why I am absolutely blessed to be able to do the work that I do, and to be able to use the tools that I have trained in. And so are many, many other practitioners. And I would urge you to, if you're going through anything at all and you think, you're being unaffected, just do an audit. Just sit down with yourself, or maybe go to have some kind of treatment or another perspective from somebody who is skilled at working out what's going on for you, both physically, energetically, emotionally and spiritually, and allow them to feed back to you. Don't even have to tell them anything that's going on. They will pick up on it. And then you have a chance to actually take hold of it before it becomes a chronic state. So yeah, let me know if this makes sense. Do share anything. And if you're interested to know a bit more about how I may be able to, well, I will be able to support you in transforming any energy that you think might be a little bit stuck, or maybe something that you do not want to continue passing on to other people, then do click on the link with this video. And thank you very much for joining me as ever. And if you're going to watch on replay, then do pop in the hashtag replay in the comments. That would be great. Thank you so much and have a beautiful week. Bye.